Within the primates, there's a group called hominoids. They are the great apes. They're classified alongside old world monkeys. The idea of being tailless is a part of that, but there are other structural things there. When it comes to hominoids, one in particular, the chimpanzee, seems to be most closely related to humans when it comes to DNA evidence, that the DNA evidence seems to point to the closest connections there, and possibly even the subspecies of bonobos, which is a type of chimpanzee, even more closely related to us as human beings, and the idea that our DNA sequence is extremely similar. Hominoids, so up here we're hominoids. Hominoids are the lineage of humans. The lineage of humans are hominines. Hominines specifically evolved some things that are not a part of other hominoids. They evolved the ability to walk upright, not just for a few steps the way most of the great apes can do, not for a limited period of time for a specific reason, but to, in general, just be walking upright all the time. Grasping thumbs, that we actually can grab with our thumbs, and the big one is that our brain got bigger. A chimpanzee has about 280 to 450 cc's of space for its brain. That his brain occupies about that many cubic centimeters. For comparison, generally speaking, the hominines were between 1,200 and 1,600 cc's. Now, brain size is not the only thing that matters in terms of intelligence, but there are certain minimal thresholds to allow you to be smarter. And of course, there's a proportionality to it that, a whale might have a bigger brain, but it's so much of a bigger organism that it's not the same thing as something as small as us, having something 1,200 to 1,600 cc's of brain in our head. This is primarily the radically expanded cerebrum. Cerebrum is the part of the brain that does specialize in executive function, higher levels of thought, processing larger amounts of sensory data, and primarily thinking about the data we have coming in. There are over 20 species of hominines, Sahelanthropus, Ardipithecus, Australopithecus, Paranthropus, Kenyanthropus, and Homo. All of those are different genera. Those are genera, and then there are species within them. Homo sapiens, Homo habilis, Homo erectus, etc. And basically speaking, all of these different groups are all hominines. One particular line led to human beings as we know human beings to be now. The rest are cousins that died out along the way. Homo sapiens arose about 200,000 to 150,000 years ago in Africa. So we are all originally from Africa. Basically, we fanned out, we replaced the descendants of earlier hominine migrations. And Homo neanderthalensis began around 200,000 years ago. Also in Africa, Neanderthalensis is a subspecies. They are Homo sapiens, just like we are Homo sapiens, and they were a part of the first wave to leave Africa. As we think of Homo sapiens or Cro-Magnon man, the way we view ourselves as modern man, we kind of wandered out a little bit later. Up until 28,000 years ago, there were still populations of Neanderthals that were living in their own areas, primarily having their own villages and so on. What happened to the Neanderthal is eventually they were just kind of absorbed into the rest of the Homo sapiens population. Same thing happened to the Denisonians, to the Floriensis, and so on. There were several different groups that were Homo sapiens we divided into different groups based on some things, but we're still part of the same species, of which Neanderthal is one. And basically what happened is we bred together to the point where they were not discernible as a group within the species. Most of current humans have between 1% and 3% of Neanderthal in their DNA. More with some groups, less with others. That's